Find your path with the knowledge of others and become an illuminator for those who struggle. Guide their way just by being true and being in alignment, because it comes naturally to you. On self-discovery wisdom, we share to find inspiration with lessons for millions. We hope you listen.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business right here on Self-Discovery Wisdom.com podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My guest today is Nikki Mahy. So, from personal loss to financial empowerment, how did she get there? She became a CFP, Certified Financial Planner, because she wanted to help people improve their financial health. At the young age of 16, she experienced a loss that forever changed her family. She watched her mum step into the role of the head of household, and at that moment she knew that she needed to have the tools to navigate life independently. As a woman, we often put our needs on the back burner while focusing on solving or fixing everybody else's problems. As a financial planner, she has the privilege of listening closely to what really matters so that her clients and helping them develop a plan that builds financial confidence so they can direct their time, energy, resources towards the areas of their life that matter most to them. She's been in the financial services since 2003, working a variety of roles that gave her a well-rounded understanding of the many challenges that clients face through their financial journeys. It was when she moved into the wealth management division that she discovered her true calling. She is committed to taking time to listen and understand each client, recognizing each person's personal goals, needs, and life circumstances because they are unique. Working alongside a comprehensive teams of professionals, she strives to provide objective, holistic, client-focused solutions in areas such as investment management, retirement and tax planning, business succession, estate planning, and wealth transfer strategies. So if you are in the need of that, then this is what you need to hear today, because it is very, very important. And I think that so many people think that financial planning is for people with big portfolios or for businesses. And really, you need a personal one, but you need a family one, because we know that many a time the big D in families, the divorce, happens due to finances. And we also know that times things break down, times get tough, people get sick, and you need to know that the money's there for you and that you don't become panicked because it's not there at the time you need it most. So welcome to the show, Nikki.
Thank you for having me.
So for me, finances, like numbers, I'm dyslexic. I put everything in the wrong column in the wrong way. And talking money is something that just doesn't register, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand the need of it. It's just I'm not wired to receive it. So having somebody that can meet people where they're at and talk to them in a lingo they understand is imperative in this business, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's one of the things that I find every day when I have conversations with people is that there is a wide range of what I like to call financial health, or even financial literacy. When you look at what the word literacy means, is just how much knowledge that you have. And I find when I use that word, financial literacy, it can either make people feel really good or it can make them feel really bad. So I don't really like to use it too much, but I do like to use it as a gauge, as when I'm connecting with people, being able to have that conversation and being like, how confident are you with your finances? Because again, everything is so complex and everybody is unique. Best question I always get every time when I meet with a new person is that I don't know anything about money and I just don't get it. And I always thank them and kind of laugh with it, because it's like, thank you, because if you did, then I wouldn't have a job.
Exactly. Right? Everybody has their own strength, right? And it's
exactly
play to your own strength. But money is a common denominator, no matter who you are, where you are, or what the hell you're doing in life. So you need to set it up that money works for you if you're not working for the money.
Yeah, and that's big part. That's what I love about my job is being able to take like what people have done up to that point, and then being able to say, hey, you've got three options. You can either save more, spend less, or die sooner. And I don't recommend the latter. So
Mm,
let's figure out about the saving more and spending less. And so really, it just comes down to that customization. Because again, as I said in my intro, one of the things that I find, and I'm a, you know, I'm a divorced mom, like you said, like you also said, went through that. I have raised two kids, and my children are very, very active. So, you know, it was very, very high demand for the, you
mhm,
know, the amount of finances coming out, but making sure that I was planning for my future, because living in the now is huge, but then also planning for tomorrow is also important. So that's why leading on professionals like myself and being able to find out, like, tell me what's important to you, what keeps you up at night, and then being able to answer those and then meet them with a solution, so that way that you can continue on. And then working with a planner like myself, that we just get together at least once a year and making sure that you're on track, and if there's any adjustments that need to be made.
mm. You
Hmm.
know, we're all about the platform of being present with self, living in the now.
Hmm.
But if
Hmm.
you've seeded properly your financial solution, it will take care of each now,
Yep.
right? That's
Yep.
the point. We
Absolutely.
want you to be present. We don't want you to be worrying about tomorrow or, you know, upset about yesterday. We want you to be present with who you are, what you're here to do, the beautiful essence of your life. We don't want you to be
Absolutely.
worrying about money. So we need you to take the time out to sort out how it can grow for you, how it can be there when you do need it, what you need to do on a regular basis just to um, allow it to grow without you thinking about it, because we want your now to be where what your gift is and not a burden.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not just about the money aspect too, because that is such a small portion of my role of what I actually do.
Hmm.
A big thing is definitely the planning portion. So like tax planning, for example, like what you're doing with the choices that you make, how is that going to affect your taxes? Is there a way that we can minimize that taxes so we can get you to grow? Well, what does that look like for your unique situation? Because that's another big thing I get a lot, is people come in and say, well, I heard that you need this. And again, I come back, well, tell me about your ideal life.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Mm.
Tell me about your ideal life. If you could wave your magic wand, what's your ideal life? And then let's get you there. Because what your ideal life and my ideal life could be completely different. And they come at different monetary values of what
Yeah.
needs to fund those. And then the other big thing, and it's definitely have been a lot of conversations I've been having with people, is estate planning and legacy planning.
Hmm.
I know it's a conversation that it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people. And again, I think that's where my strength comes from, is because with the passing of my father at such a young age,
Hmm.
it definitely changed the way that I look at things. And watching my mom navigate that really imprinted and made me who I am today, in order so I could stand on my own two feet. And I was very proud of what I was able to do when my personal situation changed and I had to face things on my own.
Hmm.
I was able to, my plan wasn't really derailed that much. And that was really, really exciting. And then now, again, making sure it's not just about the finances, but it's also, there's so many pillars. There's your banking aspect of planning. There's your protection side of planning. So if something happens to you, what's the
Yes.
plan? Like if you get sick, if you get hurt,
Hmm.
or even if your children get sick, or house, your spouse, what's the plan? And then that way you don't have to worry that you've got that, and making sure, reviewing your current coverage. If you're lucky enough to have, or fortunate enough, should say, about having an employer that provides a great disability plan, or even a
Hmm.
life insurance plan, but ensuring that that's what's going to protect what your unique family needs are going to be.
Yeah.
And then it takes that guesswork out, and that's what I find creates a lot of anxiety, is because people just don't know. But if we uncover those and then know, it just brings it down, and people can focus on what's really important about being present.
So much to unpack there. Number one, my dad died when I was 11.
Mm,
And my mum, could keep a household, but in those days, this is the 60s, there was
Hmm.
no her having financial planning or anything like that, right? So
Yeah.
we went from a beautiful big home, two homes, to a very small home, and everything having to adjust along with it. Um,
Right.
and so, yes, it's quite a big disruption in a family when something like that happens, be it death or
Hmm.
divorce. But we've also got to understand we have many, many chapters in our life, in our
Hmm.
book. And so you've got the chapter if you a couple, what are you saving up for? Or is it just purely enough money to put the kids through what they need to go through and college and everything else? And then there's, are you on your own? How do you support ABC and yourself and your future? And then what about seniorship? I'm always talking because I'm gathering authors for a new book, Our Forgotten Seniors. And one of the things in there is that how do you, in your youth, 30s at least, start taking care of your seniorship? How do you plan for that? Because don't
Hmm.
plan to live on a pension. I can tell you firsthand, it ain't enough. So
Hmm.
there's so many chapters of our lives that we need to look at, that you're going to need money this chapter, then that chapter. How do you get all of those chapters being supported?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And again, I find that meeting with someone that is able to support you in your decisions and really listening to understand what is important to you, where you want to go. And then, as I said before, getting together at least once a year to make sure that, okay, so are you in the same era? So whether or not it's child rearing, whether it's career
Mm,
development, whether or not it's you want to travel. I know that there's been some people who like save, and then they retire early because they want to travel. So just really making sure that those go forward and looking at, okay, what's, bulletproofing those plans to ensure that, hey, if this were to happen, if you spent a little bit more here or you wanted to increase it, it just takes that guesswork out.
yeah.
I know right now I'm in the stage myself personally, as I have my son has been accepted or has just completed his first year down in the States for lacrosse, and
Mm,
in a university, and it's been definitely an adjustment because not only is it that I've had to financially prepare for this, but now I only have myself in the household. So it's like the differences in how that works, and then how I'm feeling, and then what I'm doing, and how I'm showing up in the community. And one of the values that I think that I can bring with working with different people is being able, hey, I've been through this and this was my experience and I can
yeah.
speak from
Yeah.
experience. And have you thought of this?
Mm.
And those are the real things that working with somebody like myself and or a professional in general can help you with.
Yeah, there is no one size that fits all,
Not at
and the
all.
thing is, like, my son was in lacrosse, so he
Ah.
didn't had to give it up because he injured his knee,
Mm,
but a very intense short season, but intense. So
hmm.
good for him if he's over there and it's taking him somewhere. That's wonderful. But then again, if you're sending him money, Canadian money to American money, all right, at least a 30% more Canadian to match the American, right? So
Sure is.
yeah, exactly. So we always have and always will have life unexpecteds, and it could be
Hmm.
an opportunity, it could be a necessity, it could be just something I just want to pamper myself and do something for myself,
Yeah.
right? Is that how are
Yeah.
we looking at our money? And I know that when before children, BC,
Hmm.
when I was on my own, I would always take my money into a third and try and
Hmm.
save a third. A third had to be for cost of living, roof over my head, food, and a third was allowed for play as a
Yeah.
single woman. But it's like those days are kind of gone in a sense, because how many people can hold a full-time job and get a pension from it, where a lot of people are having to do two or three jobs, in
Yeah.
order to make up enough for the rent. Rents keep going up. There's a lot of financial stress on people out there. And
Hmm.
I don't think they realize that in your savings, save what you can now. It doesn't have to
Hmm.
be a lot. When things get more flush, you can add to the
Hmm.
savings, right? And it's everybody's kind of waiting. Well, when I get that windfall, and it's no, it's the drop in the bucket is what fills the bucket.
Absolutely. And you're so right. Small, steady savings in a long run, or earlier, whatever you can, 5, 10, 15, $20 a paycheck. You would be so surprised how if it goes in, and especially if you are looking at alternative types of solutions.
Hmm.
So if that money is meant for a long time that you don't need, like a longer term goal, absolutely looking at something that's going to be more growth focused. And again, a licensed professional will be able to help you navigate to figure out which is the best option for you.
Hmm.
But definitely, it is like talking with somebody. It doesn't take much. I read one time, first in my career, the differences of the power of compounding interest and how that can make a huge difference. And by even depositing, I think it was like $30 every 2 weeks from the time somebody was 19 to 25 versus somebody that was depositing, I think it was $200
Hmm.
between 30 and 45. So completely different, right?
Hmm.
Thinking I'll save for a rainy day, I'll do it another time when I have more money. And then that person who started doing that $30 from 19 to 25 was so far ahead because they had started early, it was smaller, and they had the time in order to make that go up. So it's really, say, like you said, save what you can and find the investment vehicle that's going to make your money
Yeah,
work harder for you. And
right.
again, that's just having that conversation. And you know, I find with my clients, I've got clients that aren't as cash fluent as I do with clients that have a lot, and they all have issues. They're
Hmm.
just different, and they're just all that they're just a couple of zeros difference in some aspects,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
all have issues. They all have taxation issues. They all
Yes.
have planning issues. They all have family issues. They're all relatively the same. It's just making sure that having that conversation. I always like to think that money was especially like budgeting and all those things were never really taught in school, and we
No,
also are coming out of a time where just even speaking about money is so taboo, like you
I
can't, it's
know.
not. And that's one of the things I'm really trying to change, is having that conversation, because it does make a difference. And then also to really knowing where your money goes. Like I've sat down with couples and saying, like, there's no money at the end of the month. I'm like, well, let's go through it. Like, grab your credit card statements. What have you signed up for
Mm.
subscriptions? And they're like, oh, I don't even use that. Like,
Right,
it's those things,
exactly.
right? It's those little things. I'm like, so if we take those money that you don't use, and then we put that into even being able to show them how much of a growth strategy, and they were like, wow, this has really been enlightening. And again, because that money is just such a taboo topic for a lot of people, it it's difficult to make those first steps and going forward.
I mean, you're so right about these things we sign up for and then we don't cancel and we're paying every month without realizing it. But one thing I want to talk about is very well the parents and adults sitting down. But like 2 years ago, I put out Our Forgotten Children, and in here is a
Hmm.
chapter where at a certain age, high school age, they start educating kids on money.
Hmm.
On not only investment but the management of money, appreciation. It doesn't grow on trees, and I think,
Hmm.
quite honestly, I would like to see more children bought into that quote kitchen table talk
I
with the
agree.
financial people, and show them, look, you're saying you want this and you want that, and we're telling you there isn't the money. We're now laying out where the money goes. All right, we're
Hmm.
showing you now, if you do want that, we could take X, Y, and Z every month and put it away. And then you could get it later. But we're teaching them the value of money. And that is like not I want, give me. Right.
Hmm.
And but
Yeah.
then they're kind of part of that understanding, and they take that understanding with them, and wherever they go, because young people are frivolous, they're very spontaneous, they're very in the moment. And yes, we want you to be, we want you to go and do some crazy things, but if you're actually
Hmm.
taking some money that's working for you in the background that you don't touch, right, you
Yeah.
can go and have those other times. But I think the conversation starts even when they're very young, like my grandson at the age of 5, when they do a
Hmm.
bottle drive, or when they um, do this or that, or when he gets given money for birthday, it goes in right now into his Lego fund. All right.
Hmm.
So when they've got enough, he can buy another piece of Lego building. Right. So
Hmm.
it's that appreciation. I think the reason we get into so much trouble is that we do not educate as you said, taboo, or it's the man of the house that manages it. No, it's a family concern, and
It's
family should be talking about it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm right on this, but I can definitely only speak from my own personal experience. But I know allowance is something that's a very heated
Yes.
discussion with families. And I've always looked at that allowances should be important. I
Hmm.
don't like the idea of it being tied to things. But
Yeah.
again, if you're wanting to teach the money savviness,
Yes.
this is the way to do it. And my children I have two children. My daughter, she's very successful at what she's doing now. She's so financially set. I'm very proud of her. And
Hmm.
how I started with her was when she turned 5, I said, okay, now you're 5 years old. We're going to give you an allowance, and it's going to be 25 or sorry, 50 cents for however old you are. And so
Hmm.
she got every week, she got $2.50. And the
Hmm.
reason why I started doing this is because when she was in kindergarten, she kept bringing me these book orders and hot
Yes.
lunch forms and all
Yes.
these things. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is getting a little bit pricey.
Yeah.
So I said to her, when you get your allowance, you have to take 25 cents of that and you need to put it in your special piggy bank. And we went out and picked out a special piggy bank, and that needs to go into your long term savings. These are the things that you're saving for. Everything else, you have the freedom to spend that other
Hmm.
$2.25 how you want. And how you want is I will pay for your hot lunch order forms, but if you want extras, you have to bring me 50% of whatever you want to buy, because
Right.
she's 5. She was at
Yeah.
the time. And I'll never forget the light bulb moment that went on. She was 6. So we'd been
Hmm.
doing this for just over a year. And she brought me, again, this lovely book order. And it was a $12 Barbie book she wanted to buy.
Hmm.
And I said, okay, you need to bring me 6 of your dollars. And she marches over with her other piggy bank that she just used for her day to day, and she opened it up and took out all the money, and then it it was almost not all wiped out, but almost all wiped out. And she looked at that and she was like, do I really want that? Is it wiping
Ah.
out my piggy bank? Is
Yes.
it worth it? And
Mm.
she opted not to. So again, it was, I will pay for half of it, but she made that financial choice, and to this day she's got a whole bunch of savings accounts with all these different reasons for it. So whether it's her
Hmm.
car insurance or her loan payments, everything, and then everything gets paid into there. And then when it's left over, she's got her variable where she can spend however she wants. And she has been so financially savvy. She's lived on her own. Like, and for a young person to live on their own is
Yeah.
extremely hard.
Really hard
And
these days.
she's done it. And again, it's not that I don't know if my approach was the right one, but it worked for our family.
Right.
Now, fast forward to my son, he was not did not take that strategy well, because he was like, I have $5 in my hand, I need to spend
I
it.
do. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It's burning my hand.
right.
I got to spend it. Yes.
That's right. Exactly. So that strategy didn't work necessarily for him. However, he is 18 and he is definitely somebody who's very, very frugal on marketplace. Loves shopping, loves thrifting,
Hmm.
really loves finding deals. So on one side, I'm like, I've got one that's very a planner, the other one that is definitely frugal. So and that conversation that we'd had with money, like you were saying about sitting around the table. I
Yeah.
remember when I would get paid, I'd sit down with my laptop and I would say, okay, here we go. This is good. So this is what came in. This is what went out. And they would kind of look, and, just being open with them about how things
Yes.
went. And it's
Take that
definitely,
stigma out of it. Take that judgment out of it. Like, oh, is
mhm,
that all you earn? No, forget about that. This is all
yeah,
that is coming in. Full stop.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
what has to go out. Full stop. This is kind of considered the play money. And what are we going to do
hmm,
with it? And how are
yeah,
you going to match me on it? All
yeah,
right. So
yeah,
I think we just don't teach anybody, the value of money at all. I mean, for me, I
hmm,
lived literally by the skin of my teeth. I have done all my life, really.
hmm,
Money was never talked about in my generation, even,
yeah,
with my mum. But I love VV, Value Village, and
hmm,
finding finds and things like that. So there's always a way to still get what you want, but just look for it in other areas. And
yeah,
I think one of the things that I've seen through the years, 14 years of doing this, is how many people became, uh, I'm going to say it, slaves to the money,
hmm,
slaves to the
okay,
image of money. I
mm,
am now the big CEO and I've got the car and the great house, but I have zero time to enjoy anything because I'm working to hold up this image of
Hmm.
I've got it all when I really I've got nothing right, other than
Yeah.
money, being taxed to hell and gone, can't enjoy my house, can't enjoy anything else, or now I'm sick, or I've lost it
Hmm.
in a bad investment. And it's like, I think we need to remind everybody that money is a tool
Yeah.
and it isn't an identity.
That's right. It's so true. Actually, it's funny that you should mention that because again, going by trying to be the leader with my children
Mm.
and getting them to be amazing humans to come out in the world, I remember having that conversation about the dollar, and we were I believe we were in either Kelowna or we were somewhere where it was the big boats and the big trucks and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I remember I think my son said something. He's like, "Oh wow, I want to, when I grow up, I want to have one of those." And I'm like, "Okay, let's suspect that." I said, "You got to think most of these people don't actually own these. What
Yeah.
they have is they have really good credit." And
Yes.
that was at the time when borrowing costs were very low, where
Yeah.
years ago, where it was at what 2%, less than 2%. Like it
Hmm.
was so low. Nowadays, and you look what's happened, and having that conversation is like people just have good credit. And then when interest rates start rising, that means they have to sell them because they're not going to be able to afford these things. And again, kind of going by what the lifestyle that you live, like, yeah, that's great that you're a high earner. But if you don't get to enjoy life, what are you doing it for?
I mean,
What are
let's
you doing it
take a
for?
truck, for instance. You buy this truck, you get a good deal on it. And with the gas prices up and down as they are right now, you can't afford to fuel the damn thing. So,
Right.
so you've also got to look at, oh, yes, I would really love that, but what's the
Yep.
cost of owning it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Actually, and yesterday again, like I know I keep on coming back to my children, but because they're in such an area that I'm like I'm really wanting to like help them. And so
Mm,
we were out for a walk yesterday, being like Mother's Day with my son, and of course he just got home last week, and so he hasn't really figured out, like hasn't really gotten his real bearings being at home.
yeah.
And I don't and he and talking about gas prices. So
Hmm.
when he left last year, I think gas was around a dollar 75, maybe $1.80. I think
Oh,
when he left, right? Yeah,
way less.
yeah.
Yeah, in
Well,
the
he left in
40s.
yeah, he left in August, so it
Mhm.
was quite low. So in the summer, prices were a little higher just because of seasonal. But then when he came back and I told him, I said, "No, it's like over $2." He's like,
Yeah,
"I'm not going to be
220.
able to afford to drive." And
Exactly, exactly.
and so but it was like these realizations and
Hmm.
things like you said. So if you have these big tickets, and like what's that going to look like, and making sure you're planning for. So again, it's taking, that's where I come, like, love to come in and having those conversations. So it takes that guesswork out of things for people.
We want you to go out to playtime. Is it, is it to a concert? Is it to a restaurant? Is it meeting
Hmm.
your, fellow friends at a pub? Is it to an event that's coming up? But I mean, we need you to because that keeps the
Hmm.
economy going, right?
Hmm.
But you've also got to allocate, how many times can I go out this month?
Yes.
If I could go out more if I went to a cheaper place than this one expensive place, and
Hmm.
nobody's denying or telling you you can't have, is that you have to do it within your budget. If you go to one very nice fancy place, well, that's the only place you're going this month, as
Yeah,
opposed to some a few cheaper places, which there's always some good food around at good prices. So, and I think,
yeah.
you know, we might get a little resentful because, yes, it's always politicians that do this to us, right? And another war and this and that and everything else. But we have no
It's always
control over
something.
that except for
Hmm.
voting, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so, vote for the people that actually are doing it, not saying it. That's the
Right.
big thing. But in what we do know that when prices go up, even when the crisis is resolved, prices really come down. All right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you've also got to, in your plan, allow for extreme inflation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, very true, very true. One of the things I always that I use fairly often, and I didn't realize how often I said it until I started paying attention, was is that when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really do that in finance as well. So again, going back to when I was teaching my children, when I went through my divorce, and me and my children were buying a new place. Well, I was buying it, but I wanted their input. And we looked at 3 different houses, and I brought them to all 3. And they were all within, I think they were about $50,000, between the 3 of the price difference.
Right.
And I remember both my kids, like they wanted the one that was at the higher price.
Yeah, of
And I
course.
told them, of course. And again, it wasn't out of my price range.
Right.
I just remember having the conversation. I said, okay, absolutely. I do like this house too. However, if we buy this house, which means that we are going to say, instead of going our one trip a year we take as a family, we're going to have to do it every 2 years. Is that something you guys are willing to live with? And they both looked at each other, both looked at me, and they said, nope, we want our trip every year. And
Yeah.
so we opted for the house in the middle, which allowed the free up.
Right.
And so it was just, again, going back to that saying, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
There's the other thing of 2 spouses working. I've got
Mm-hmm.
a daughter with 3 children. She's on mat leave right now. So
Right.
obviously what she's getting on mat leave and what she will get when she goes back, and she's got 3 children and they're, costly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's going to be a time that when, a woman may be working and she's earning money when you're first dating and you get married and you want to go and buy everything, then she starts having kids. And she's not getting that income anymore, maybe not getting any
Mm-hmm.
income. She's working a 24/7 job with, sometimes not even so much as a thank you, as we know
Uh-huh.
as a parent, right?
We
And
sure do.
there's always going to be somebody along the line for whatever circumstances, illness, raising children, losing a job, that you're out of the job. So when you're looking at your finances, you should really look at the income separately and then the combined income of what you must pay yourself, and then this is the us money, and what's the contingency if that us money on one side or the other is not there.
Absolutely. And that's a really important question that I have when I'm working with, especially younger families, when especially if there is one spouse, when you look at, if it, like in your daughter's case,
Hmm.
some families, they're like, you know what, by the time I'm putting 3 kids in daycare,
Yes.
and by the time I do that and it'll take off from what I'm actually working, it doesn't make financial sense for me to do that. So
Yeah.
we're going to opt to stay home. And one of the conversations I always have is that, so what happens if something happens to the stay-at-home partner?
Mm.
Right? Because if they stay at home partner, they get sick and they can't look after the kids anymore. Or if unfortunately, if they were to pass away,
Yeah.
what's the plan then? And so that's where, like, looking at the protection side of things, that really comes into play as well, and having those conversations. So it's not just about money, because now you're going to have to you're either going to learn. I remember having this conversation with my ex-husband when he used to work in the oil sands for the longest time. And I remember having a conversation with him about purchasing some protection insurance, because I
Yes.
said to him, I'm like, if something happens to me, like if something happens to you, I'll figure it out. I always do. But I'm like, if something happens to you, you're going to have to learn how to be Mr. Mom. You're going to have
Yeah.
to learn how the household runs. You're going to have to learn how our son likes to.
Oh, frozen there for a moment. Hold on, folks, she'll be back. That's what happens when we have an internet drop. She'll be right back. Okay, folks, she is back and mid-conversation. If you can remember where you are, what happens when someone
Yeah.
is not able to?
Yeah, so having that conversation with my ex-husband and saying, when you were working away, and you come home and you're able to do your things, but if I'm not here anymore, you have to learn how to be Mr. Mom. So you're going to have to learn how to tie
Hmm.
our son's skates. You're going to have to get him to practices. My daughter was a competitive dancer. How are you going to get there, and how they like their foods cooked, and all those types of things, and then grieving the loss of your spouse as well. So you need to make sure you have that
Yeah.
time, even though, like,
But
again, if
also
they
you have to change career,
that too, yeah,
right?
because
You would have
working
to
away
change
is not going
career,
to be.
right?
And then that
Yes.
could involve
Hmm.
retraining, all those things. So
Hmm.
again, it's just not. I don't like it. I don't want to make it sound it's so scary, but it's like you bite off these little chunks at a time, and then you can get those
Yes.
questions answered. It's not just always about the amount of money that comes in. It's about what's the plan when something goes sideways.
The big thing
Mm,
is what you are investing in here is peace of mind. We
mm,
know that something's going to go sideways somewhere along the line. It's just the nature of life. But
yep.
are you financially secure for it? Right. And
Mm-hmm.
that's,
Yep.
have you got a contingency plan for that? Have you,
Yep.
people say, oh, don't think about it, you're inviting it. Well, I do believe in, positive thinking, absolutely, and don't dwell on negativity. But there's practicality, and that is looking at the scenarios and going, well, worst case scenario, A, B, C, and D, what's needed to be in place for that? Um, and it's like insurance. We buy insurance, we never use it.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid that we should use it. My house burnt down. I've had numerous car accidents. Thank God the insurances were there. Then you
Right?
have insurance on other things that you never use.
Yep.
But why are we not looking at financial planning like an insurance?
I agree. I agree. And that's what I really why I want to try and talk to as many people as I can. And just, if you're not right to fit with like working with somebody like myself, but find somebody that will be able to, or even learn about it yourself. And there's a lot of people that are savvy out there that want to do that as well. There's lots of good tips out there, but definitely, the more knowledge you have and the more like looking and like you said, burying your head in the sand and saying, it's not going to happen to me. But what's the plan if it does, like it's, and
Yes,
that's, when you see the
it's
GoFundMe's
just
for people because of,
insurance. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
exactly. And you just see these people that
yeah.
need to reach out for these help. And it's just, oh, I just, like, to go through the devastation to get to that point, but we could, by
Mm.
having the conversation and putting things in practice prior to, it just, can definitely help that peace of mind. I love that, the help of peace of mind.
We're not going to live in a society anytime soon that doesn't revolve around money.
Mm-mm.
And
Nope.
things are not going to go backwards and go cheap. Everything is
Yeah.
just going to continue to go up, and salaries do not keep up. And that means
Nope.
that we are going to have to be a bit more frugal, and those special moments and times are going to have to be more flexible. And if you do get sick, um, can you afford somebody to come in? Can you afford this or that? And it's again that peace of mind. I can concentrate on getting better because I know there's someone there. And
Yeah.
the reverse thing, you might be looking after kids, but what happens if you're ending up looking after a parent that's in need, and
Yes.
suddenly you're not able to physically do that? What plan have you got in place there? Financially, suddenly, can you put your parents in a home? But how much is that going to cost?
Mm-hmm.
What's the quality of life in there? There's the other end of the scale, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the Samish generation is a huge, huge, huge
Mm,
topic right now. You still got people, still parents of children living at home. Then
mm,
they're caring for their aging parents, and especially if you don't have any additional siblings to be able to lean on them, if your other
yeah.
siblings are out of town, or even
Or
if your
don't want to.
parents, well, that, or don't want to, or
Yeah.
they have, you were only a child, or
Yeah.
whatever situation is unique, but it is a definite, caregiver burnout is definitely hard. And so
Huge.
that, again,
Mm,
that is that looking at the whole picture and being like, well, how can we plan for this, even to bring somebody in for a little bit of time. And we are moving into as the baby boomers especially
mm.
move into this age, it's going to be quite interesting how this is all going to shape up. And I really hope, again, help, I'm able to help people with that conversation and being able to provide an ear or resources, and what that looks like for people.
I mean, I'm the baby boomer, so
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
know very, very few of us get here without some sort of ache or pain or
Mm-hmm.
something along the line, or something that did take our money and we don't have enough to live on, and it's hard. For us, it's really hard to start the savings when we can
Yep.
hardly make ends meet each month. And so this is why it's so important to get at it early as possible, so that you
Mm-hmm.
have got that money resource there working for you, not into our position here.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And even when you're in the position, being able to have the conversations to see like you don't have to do this on your own.
Yeah.
reaching out and asking people, experts, for help and assistance, because if you could think you see, you think you might have a great grasp on things, but tweaking it just a little bit might relieve something, or just see something, or being able just to help. That's where the value of professionals come in.
Yeah. I mean, not everything can be YouTubed. You
That's
can't
right.
YouTube financing. Well, they're talking generally. Are they talking
Exactly.
specifically to your needs, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you need a human being that not only has had the experience, has gone through something themselves and knows
Mm-hmm.
firsthand, loves what they're doing, right? Because the last thing you need is financial person telling you what to do because it's worked for other people and no, just do that. Or somebody who really doesn't like their job and you know it, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
somebody that really loves what they're doing, giving you the peace of mind by setting things up properly. Every single one of us has a skill set that we were born with that we hopefully use through our lives. Some people lose it and have to regain it, and some people are in discovery of it. That's your strength and forte. So you
Mm-hmm.
go to the expert whose strength and forte it is, because
Yes.
that's their hat. It's not your hat. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to YouTube it or download app it or even AI it, there's only so much wisdom that they can give you to apply. You need somebody who's may use AI as an assistant, but has the hands-on skill that suits your needs.
Absolutely. And that's what I love when I meet with new people, saying them is like, this is your unique plan. This
Mm,
is not your parents. This is not your
yeah,
brothers, your sisters, your neighbors. There's nothing worse. And especially if I'm the locker room talk or the
yeah.
lunchroom talk about, well, you should do this, this, and this. And
Just do this, just do that. Yeah.
exactly. And so again, kind of going back, that, oh, I've got this advice, I should do this, and it was going to be a taxation suicide when I
Mm,
heard what they were thinking about doing. I'm like,
right.
well, you absolutely can do this, but this is where it's going to hit you taxation wise, and it's going to take you 2 years to catch up to get your OH security back. And they
Right.
were like, no one told me that. So
Exactly.
right, so it's, again, it's talking. And even, there's big conversations around, should I take my CPP at a certain age, should I take
Hmm.
it early, should I take it late? Well, again, it's really unique on that conversation. Do you have a family history of longevity? Because if the later you push it, the more it gets into your pocket. Are
Yeah.
you healthy? Do you plan on working later? Like, all, there's so
Yes.
many different factors, and it's really is a customized approach that again. And also too, I hear stories of people saying, well, I got X amount of return in this, and I'm like, well, but did you ask them how they were invested? Did you ask them what they did? What's their risk tolerance? What's your risk tolerance? How do you look at debt? How do you look at savings? There's so many different factors. That's why it's a unique, customized. When it comes to finances, it's everything is so unique, because everything is just different for everyone.
And we also want to make sure that, whatever we're putting aside doesn't suddenly get taxed on. Right. So taxation, you could be saving, 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 and then tax says, oh, you've got that amount of money. We're going to tax the hell out of you. So, where
Yes.
are you saving it that it's tax protected?
Yes, yeah, and that's looking again at the whole picture, that, not having these things like, that, whether or not it's taxed at capital gains or whether it's taxed at income, like I had a conversation with somebody who had always invested in GICs, and now that they got a windfall and they had all of this information, they retired, received a windfall of inheritance, and they just wanted to put it into a GIC. And my conversation with them was, is that, okay, that's great, but this is what's going to happen at tax time. You're going
Mm,
to receive X amount of money as interest income, which is taxed as income. So that
yeah,
means it gets added to your pensions, which means that if you invest what you're talking about today, you potentially could be having your old age security or your guaranteed income supplement drawn back because you're making too much income off of the interest that you're
exactly.
investing. So having those conversations, you're making sure that what you're choosing to do is the best for you and your family.
let's just have a quick word around crypto because an awful lot of people are looking at crypto and they're looking at Bitcoin and this and that.
Hmm.
And, I've lost money that way,
Yeah.
which anybody that's gone down that way has. Um,
Hmm.
but everybody still talks about it as being the future and where the investment goes. And so,
Hmm.
how do you view that?
So the type of clients that I work with, they tend not to, I tend not to steer them into crypto. And the reason
Mm,
being is just like you said, they're not necessarily in a position to want to lose any money.
right.
Or if they do get into the want, then it will be a very, very small amount. And I let them take that and I say, you know what, how about I look after the bulk of what you're doing and you can, that will open up a small little trading platform. You can look after your own, and then that way it's not jeopardizing your whole. It is,
Mm,
it is, crypto is a part. There is definitely benefits to it, but you really have to have the stomach for it and the capacity for it, and it's not meant for everyone.
right.
So that's how,
And
I
you've got
look
to
at.
be on top of it. I mean, that's the thing. It's like trading or anything. You really got to follow
Mhm.
the daily thing. Where is it now? When to pull it out, when not to?
Yeah,
So do
exactly.
you have that? If you've got that financial hat, it's like, gambling, like if back in the day, go and play,
Yeah,
um, not poker, the 21s, forgotten it.
blackjack.
Well, no, no, it's the card one, 21 cards. Ace anyway, I'll come to me in a
Yeah.
moment. But I would take X amount of money along, and this was my entertainment for the night. If I
Hmm.
lost it, that's it. If I
Right,
gained, then if I gained, I would take what I spent with me, put it back in my pocket. Now I'm playing with the winnings. If I walk
right.
out with the winnings, great. If I don't, it was a night's entertainment,
That's right.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we have to again kind of look at, whatever we're doing is how much is it costing us in a sense, and can you recover some of your costs, and then maybe you could still challenge a few things. But um, there are so many people that just gamble, gamble, gamble with everything. I even gambled by investing in people and
Hmm.
it not working out.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. People wanting to, oh, it's a sure investment. But what are the guarantees on your money? That's the
There.
thing. So,
Yeah.
and you don't know what you don't know.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's secure your home front first with the basics that suit you. If you still want to dabble in something else, at least get educated on how to look for what signs.
I agree. That is definitely great advice. I definitely think that you need to ensure that, again, when I work with clients, I always look and say, okay, how much do you need in your jeans every day to make your
Mm,
ideal life happen? And then let's protect that amount, and then you can push it off to the side, whichever and have your play money, like you said,
yeah.
on those different avenues of investments, and always making sure that it is, you know again, the biggest thing is just making sure that it's tested, that it's
Yeah.
bulletproof, because we don't know what's coming around the coming
No.
around the horizon, and we need to have time to be able to react and pivot.
Yeah.
And
Don't
yeah.
go make investments or on something using your daily money.
Yeah.
It is the investment money, and should you lose it, it's not going to cause catastrophe at home, right? That's the important
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
Consider that play money, and if you win, happy, wonderful. If you don't, okay, it's no, people are still going to get fed tonight.
Yeah. That was one of the things in my 23 years of working in the financial services industry, I have learned there's no such thing as a for sure investment.
No,
We can do wonderful things, but there's never a guaranteed investment.
no, and sometimes you might invest in land or property, and you'll never lose out on it in the long run, but you may have to wait the long game for prices to come back. Um, and then, but you may need to sell it because you need the money. So again, if you've invested in it, don't ever need the money from that. Willing to
Yeah.
sit on it until the money can come. Don't go and do things with something that is meant to be your secure umbrella.
I remember a few years ago, and early in my career, and someone had mentioned that they'd said if the bees, if BNN or CNN had wrote on the bottom of their screen, you know how they would do like all the markets
Mm,
up, down, and
yeah.
if they did the cost of housing, would people stay in their houses knowing if they go up and down,
Hmm.
right? Because it is, the market can go up and down. And
Yes.
I mean, but it has been for 20 some odd years. It's been nothing more so but an incline, except for a couple of little blips along the way. But you think about the 80s and the
Mm,
90s, and like when we had those, those market downturns, and
yes.
it really, so people, would you sell your house then? Well, no, I would just stay in it. Well, then that's what you need to do with your plan, because we do
Yes.
know that there's going to be ups and downs. We always like to think that we're going to do the buy low, sell high as the golden
Hmm.
rule when it comes to
Hmm.
investing. However, most people do the buy high, sell low is what they end up doing.
Absolutely.
So again,
Absolutely.
working with, like, looking at the whole picture, making sure that, okay, what is the target, what do you need in order to meet that ideal life, and go from there.
I mean, you talked about the interest rates being so low that everybody went crazy, buying
Mm-hmm.
houses and cars and everything way above,
Yep.
because the interest rate was so low. And then all of a sudden the interest rate goes up, or the loan comes in, and then they lose everything because, and look at 2008, the crash.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody
Yep.
couldn't even give the house away, never mind sell it. All right. So
Absolutely.
it is
Yep.
like, know what your
Well,
means are and how to stay within it. All
yeah.
right.
Well, even
That's,
just like, again, I can use a personal experience when it comes to like interest rates. When I moved to Nanaimo, I ended up going into variable rate interest, which I've always done, but in my experience of being in housing, mortgage rates were always coming down. I'd
yeah.
never experienced in my whole time owning a home interest rates going up. And I remember that when I sat down with my professional mortgage broker, and I sat down with them, they're like, do you want fixed or do you want variable? And I said, no, I'll go with variable, because variable rates, in my opinion, is what works best for me and my family. And then they asked, do you want it where it is, where your interest rate goes up, like your payments will go up if the interest rates go up, or do you, or down, or would you like it to be steady? And I'm like, no, I want it to adjust, so if interest rates go up and down. And I'm very happy that I was able to do that, because when, fast as we know, in 2022 interest rates started to rise,
Yes.
right? And so I was able to adjust my lifestyle from every time that we had a interest rate adjustment. And so with me being able to do that, because it was either, whether it was $50 every mortgage payment, whether it was $100, I was able to adjust. I was talking to a family that their mortgage payment, because it was coming up, it was going to go up by $1,200.
Wow. Yes. Yes.
$1,200, and it was like, I don't know where that money is going to come from.
Right.
And they were forced to having to they were really forced with having to sell. And
Yeah.
at the time, because when they bought when the market was extremely
Mm,
inflated, and now they were like, are we going to break even, or are we going to
no.
going to take a loss on the home? And that was a difficult conversation to have. Again, this is where having those conversations with
Yes.
professionals really make, and looking at just the whole overall, it's like, well, what, this is the scenario if this were to happen, this is a scenario if this were to happen, and that way you have all the information to make the most informed decision.
There's always going to be trends. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you're going to get caught up in a trend whether you like it or not, like interest rates
Yep.
and mortgage rates, etc. Um, you have to be able to have that flexibility with it. And at the same time, what's going to protect you the most? And again,
Absolutely.
you may have heard of this and you may have heard of that, and you may meet with your financial planner and say, I've heard this and I've heard that, right? And that's a starting point in the conversation. Now we can really look at the facts according to, yes, that's true for this person. Looking at your
Mm-hmm.
situation, it wouldn't fit you. And so that means
Exactly.
don't come to a financial planner with a dogma attitude of, I want this because my mate's got it, right?
Yes.
You got to go there. What do you need around your family that's going to give you security and peace of mind and allow growth?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So it's, yeah, you can come with those questions. You can come with things you've heard. Now you've
Mm-hmm.
got to be open as to whether it's applicable to you.
Absolutely. That's such good advice. Yeah, I agree.
So Right back to the children learning money right from an early age is they stop wanting everything that everybody else has got. They learn to appreciate and have
Hmm.
gratitude for what they do have because they know where the money's coming from. Mom works
Yeah.
hard, she's providing, dad works hard. Or I remember my daughter when she got her first job and her first salary and she blew it,
Yeah.
right? Which I think we've all done. And
We've
it's
done.
like,
Yeah.
and it's like, but now imagine you're having to pay rent and you're having to pay this and having to pay that with it, and then see what
Yeah.
you've got. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a baby boom. I'm going back to 1971. I shared a house with people. My rent was $40 a month.
Right.
My car was costing me $5 in gas,
Yeah.
right? My I was earning $100
Yeah.
a month, and I felt rich.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So,
Yeah.
it's all that proportion, right? Now, when we look at $100, you can't go to the grocery store without coming out. $100 a small bag. You can't go out for a meal, for four or
Yep.
five of you under maybe 120, 130.
Yep.
It's we just have to look at, yeah, we don't have to deny ourselves, but we have to know
Hmm.
what is it costing us to have this fun? What do we have
Yep.
to say no to, or what can we save up to say yes to?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you work with people just in Nanaimo or everywhere?
So I work with people everywhere. I have clients all the way in Ontario. I've got clients all over. Courtney, all over the island. I do have clients on the mainland, so I can work with anybody, or
As long as
I
it's
can work with a lot of
Canadian, it's
people.
Canadian planning.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, if you have listened to this elsewhere outside of Canada, if the information still applies. You need to go
Absolutely.
find a financial planner for you in your country. And, from having heard this, you know which questions to ask. How do you serve my unique needs? In
Hmm.
what way you're going to do it, and what are the steps? Don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to, feel like you're looking like an idiot. You don't know. I can't go to a mechanic and say, well, this ding ding is coming from there. I don't know, right?
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
go to the dentist and said, I think it's this tooth, and it ends up being the tooth over there, but the wiring is over here, right?
Yeah.
So you go to the experts for that reason, but you can go with questions. You can go with
Hmm.
decides. You can go with that because that gives them a starting point in order to go, okay, you want this. Let's see how we can make that happen for you. So
Yeah.
put those
Yeah.
questions down first. So for people to reach you, my dear,
Hmm.
how do
Hmm.
they reach you?
So I work with BMO Private Wealth. I do have a website, so and I do believe the links will be in the show notes.
Yes, but for
And
the
also
people that
to
are listening,
listening for listening today. So I have a mobile direct line, which is 236-628-1041 is my direct mobile. Again, it's 236-628-1041. I'm also on social media through LinkedIn and also through Facebook, and it's Nikki May, which is spelled Nikki, and then Mahy. The H is silent, but and so that's on Facebook and with LinkedIn, and I'm
right? And of course,
able to reach me that way.
the site, if they want to go to, is nessbritburns.bmo.com/Nikki May, Mahy.
That's
So
right.
they can go to the company on that and see. And,
Yeah.
like you may have heard this today and just go, I just need to have that deeper conversation. I need to have a deeper understanding. I don't know what I need.
Hmm.
I don't know what I don't know. I might just be inquiring right now, what are the steps? But,
Yeah.
where you lay it out to them, look at it as a cha-cha-cha, a couple of steps forward, a couple of steps to the side.
Yeah.
They look at it as a stitch in time, that there's always something,
Hmm.
there's resources. But please, folks, take this as a warning. I'm a 71-year-old who had no savings, living off a pension that's virtually nothing, with the cost of prices going up like crazy. Will you even be able to afford your senior years if you don't start doing something now, right?
And
So,
and little changes make such a huge
yeah,
difference. Such a huge difference. Makes such a difference.
don't be afraid to ask the questions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Don't be afraid.
and feel free to reach out again. I would rather have the conversation, and if I'm not a fit to work with you,
Mm,
I will introduce you to somebody who will, in your area, or even just if you're just starting out, what things you can do, and if it's not the right timing now, we'll find time in the future for it to work. But
right.
yeah.
Just planting the seeds of, knowledge that you need to do it. Um, I know that every penny counts these days. I know that most of us are living paycheck to paycheck. Um,
Hmm.
but it's, as you said, I'm paying for this, but I don't even use it. I could
Hmm.
take that money and start with the
Yeah,
saving. And then down the road, I can take this up now and I can take that. Where's the best place to put that? And then once you've got into a rhythm of knowing what, where, and when, there's the peace of mind, the contingency plan. But if you've got kids or even you're on your own, you've educated yourself in the world of money, of how to make it work for you and not for you to work for it.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because God forbid that you should have any disasters down the road. Believe me, been there, done that. And
Hmm.
money was the crutch where I couldn't get out because of
Yeah.
it. You want to know that whatever you have to face, the money is going to be there for you. So start
Yeah.
saving it now and saving it wisely. Thank you so much, Nikki. This has been great information.
Well, thank you for having me. I really had enjoyed myself.
Good. So much for you to learn here today. Don't forget to share this podcast out with others. Play it again and have your family listen to it and let them write down notes of,
Hmm.
start asking questions, children. Start listening to your children and encouraging them to ask questions. And then when you've got it all down, then you can reach out to Nikki, a financial planner, or another financial planner, wherever you are, and go, the family's got some questions, and these are the things we'd like to do. How do we go about and do it? But include
Absolutely.
the family, right?
Hmm. All right.
So, folks, until next time, remember, you're a very enriched and abundant soul. Let's just make sure that money is there to support you in all that you're there to do. So, until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you to listen to right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Come and hear the illumination that's going to shed light on your path.
Find your path with the knowledge of others.